Uchiha Madara and Hashirama team up for ultimate battlefield domination. Episode 86 Mature Body Susanoo. The coalition forces were forced to die with Suban. The coalition forces of the five powers were indeed cornered at this time, and could only agree to this idea. Sacrifice their country's national fortunes. At all costs, defeat Suban. Even if these citizens continue to make sacrifices, they must accept it. So, they began to recite the words, Honorable National Forbidden Land. I'm Alessandro Merlin Justin. Willing to sacrifice 5%/10%/15% of the strength of their own national fortunes. Strengthen yourself with this. These players all gritted their teeth and issued these commands. Within the maximum range they can bear, they should absorb the power of national fortune as much as possible. As soon as the players of the Europa League spoke, countless mysterious forces suddenly fell from the sky. Clusters of light painted with mysterious spells quickly merged into the bodies of players from all over the world. They felt that the various types of energy in their bodies had soared again, and they had once again begun to explode into stronger combat power. The body that was already at the end of the crossbow was once again full of abundant and extreme strength. Even the previous symptoms of poisoning in the body quickly subsided at this time. Even more powerful than before. He felt that he finally had the strength to fight a battle, and was able to work together to issue a fatal ding to Suban. In the real world, although the players of the Europa League are getting stronger, their natives are beginning to complain desperately. More and more resources are beginning to disappear from their countries. No place can escape this catastrophe. Wherever resources are available, without exception, they will lose them in the most unacceptable way for ordinary people. Originally, when the players of various countries died, they would let their corresponding countries gain huge resource losses. A person's death represents at least 10% of a country's losses. Coupled with the sacrifice of the national fortune at this time, the resources they lost were far beyond their range of bearing. In addition to the molded goods that have been successfully produced, the intermediate processing products and even raw materials of many goods have simply disappeared. This is an extremely huge loss for countless factories. Whether it is cars, computers, mobile phones, and other industrial products. Or snacks, side foods, compressed foods, fresh vegetables, and other foods. They all evaporated out of thin air in an instant. More and more cities are beginning to fall into paralysis. The depletion of electricity resources and water resources has turned the city into a civilization that has come to the end of the city, and there is no way to continue to maintain it at this moment. Even countless citizens who have been forced into desperate situations have revealed their greedy and ugly human faces. If these resources cannot be restored, then their material and spiritual civilization will at least go back a few decades. In this regard, countless ordinary citizens are complaining. Garbage player. It has consumed so many of our resources, and there is no way to cause much harm to Suban. They're really useless. If they still can't win the fight, then don't fight, and if they continue to fight, our whole country will have it. The Dragon Kingdom people were also speaking to them with a very sympathetic attitude at this time. I advise you to surrender quickly. You are simply stupid to challenge Suban, and you will never be able to win the victory. Our Suban is a godlike figure, so don't continue to oppose God. If you are willing to give up resistance and obediently be the little brother of our Dragon Kingdom, then we can still consider giving you a little good treatment, so that you can barely survive after losing so many resources. Stop thinking about challenging our Dragon Kingdom. Don't think about it anymore with the Lighthouse people, or turn to us Dragon Country people, is the best choice. I believe you will not be so stupid. If at this time you don't know that the person who knows the time is Junjie, then you are really bound to perish. Seeing that all of you are going to exhaust the strength of national fortune to fight with Suban, I also really want to know what it's like, ha ha ha. We, the people of the Dragon Kingdom, don't have the opportunity to sacrifice the fortunes of the country and let Suban improve his combat strength, which is a pity, and I also want Suban to feel this powerful force. The strength of our Dragon Nation people to unite as one, and the same Versailles that you can't compare with the Dragon Nation people at this time, make foreigners even more uncomfortable. Countless ordinary people are not only very unhappy with the Dragon Country players Suban and others, but also very unhappy with their own players, but also very unhappy with the national transport embargo, now very unhappy. This is not their chance to change the fate of the country at all. It is the catastrophe that destroys their country. While seeing the Dragon Kingdom's increasing resources, they could only envy and hate. Why are people like Suban not in their country? Now, the top brass of various countries can only appease them as much as possible when they see the complaints of their own citizens. Inspire confidence in your own people on a variety of platforms. Tell them that these sacrifices are worth it. As long as their players can get the blessing of the power of national fortune, sooner or later, they will pay back 100-fold. After defeating the Dragon Kingdom players, they can divide the rewards of the Dragon Kingdom players. When the time comes, the rewards they will get will definitely be stable and not lose. Dragon Nation players will never beat their league. Of course, these Europa Confederate countries are all paper tigers. They can't do it. After all, they had already fired their bows and there was no turning back. Only by completely defeating the Dragon Kingdom and getting rewards can they offset their previous huge losses. And in the national embargo, the remaining strong men of the 5 major alliance forces, after obtaining the power of national fortune, immediately looked solemn and discussed the relevant tactics in the shortest possible time. The power of the fortunes of the country they sacrificed could not last much time. And the price paid is also very large. They must use the shortest possible time to defeat Suban and end this battle, so they all began to silently charge up, ready to launch a thunderous strike against Suban soon. It's the final battle, and they have to win successfully. Next, under their charge, countless cannon fire shot out, breaking the barrier of the tree sea above them. Boom! Alessandro's body, also driven by Thor's hammer, burst out of this protective shield and continued to rush to where Suban was. In the face of this sudden attack, Suban directly swung the chakra knife and collided with it. But at this moment, the Gallic Chicken Country Paladin who was following behind him quickly began to unleash super auxiliary skills. The light binds. A brilliant golden chain suddenly wrapped around Suban's Susanoo hand and quickly began to contract. Suban Sasuke's big hand could not swing freely at once. Although it could only block for a second or two at best, it was enough to prevent Suban from delivering a fatal blow. Taking advantage of this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, Alessandro quickly swung his Thor's hammer and smashed the crack that had arisen before Suban thundered. In the battlefield, there was an earth-shaking sound in an instant. Suban had already been attacked by Alessandro and Justin just now, and Susanoo had already seen many cracks. Coupled with this blow, most of Susanoo's energy armor was directly shattered. And other people's attacks are also coming. Gift of Courage, Cross of Light. Brilliant golden flames formed a cross, which suddenly burned on Suban Susanoo. Desert King Kong Sword. 4 extremely sharp sand blades burst out. Bloody March. The Dark Magician Merlin, like a meteor hammer, threw out a large red 3-segment scythe, flashing an eerie black light. There is no use other than attack. Ice Cube Pheasant Mouth. After gathering the strength of countless national fortunes, their attack at this time can already be said to be unprecedentedly powerful. Click, click, click. They finally succeeded in breaking most of Suban's Susanoo. Let Suban's body be officially exposed. After seeing this scene, they were all excited in their hearts. Oh, Suban. Admit defeat. Your giant mode has been clearly identified by us. A giant who moves very inflexibly is a completely live target, and as long as we patiently attack you, you will sooner or later suffer heavy casualties. And the defenses you're proud of are no longer insoluble. Even if you summon it again, we'll blow it up again. I believe that if we continue to bombard with powerful attacks, sooner or later, there will be more and more cracks, and then complete destruction. Everyone also realized that Suban was indeed not an easy person to deal with. In particular, Suban, who turned on Susanoo. So be prepared to fight him for a long time. Although he is so powerful, there are certainly limits. So many of them dealt with him, and there was also the power of the country's national fortune behind it. Consumption can consume Suban to death, right? There is no way to compare with him in terms of energy persistence, right? After seeing that the 5-Nation Alliance army began to be full of self-confidence again, Suban once again showed a dismissive smile. He still did not look directly at the 5-Nation Alliance, but murmured, "These guys are in a state at this time, and they can actually break through the wood and flower tree realm between my pillars. It seems that this guy's ninjutsu between the pillars is not very reliable. Haha. But it's still fun." As he spoke, Suban glanced down at the 5 major alliance forces. "When, to give you the illusion that my Susanoo could only stand still? It's okay. If you want to move, then I don't mind playing with you." Followed by Suban once again launched his own eternal kaleidoscope riding wheel eye. Airplanes. Suban's shattered half-body giant mode began to grow larger again. Enter the 4th form of Susanoo. While retaining the balance of the 2nd form and full ability, it also increases excellent maneuverability. The most obvious change is that 2 legs have grown from the bottom. As long as this 4th form is used, the weakness at the bottom will no longer exist. There is also greater flexibility in terms of action. This is the mature body Susanoo. Seeing that Suban had once again let his giant evolve, the people of the Five Great Powers Alliance were even more shocked. Oh my god, how is this possible? His giant has evolved again. This time, it is a real giant, and they have been able to rely on their huge legs to move their confidence, and they have begun to collapse again. Next. Suban didn't give them much time to be shocked. Suban, who had grown much larger, immediately began to wield the chakra knife and shoot at the fly players in the air. Alessandro and Justin quickly maneuvered their bodies to avoid it. Phew! Where Suban's chakra's large knife swung, the blue sword chi suddenly burst out, as if it could cut through the void, and it was possible to pass by their side. Both Alessandro and Justin were heartbroken. It's so dangerous. Suban's giant was so tall and so flexible at this time, his air superiority was no longer there. Justin and Alessandro and others were secretly bitter at this time. Although Susanoo's body was strong, it didn't look like much had changed. There shouldn't be much change in terms of defense, but the attack power and flexibility will definitely be greatly improved. They can only be more cautious in the next attacks. Keep your distance from Suban and don't dare to get too close to Suban, so as not to be easily killed by Suban. And at this time in the real world, the foreigner, who had only been slightly excited by the difficulty, once again had a black line on his face. It's a more powerful mode again, this Suban has no end? Open and hang, how to open and hang again. I don't even know how many times I've said it, but I'm bored. We have obviously exhausted so much of the power of national fortune and sacrificed so many resources, why can't we defeat a figure like Suban? Where are the Dragon Kingdom people better than us? In stark contrast to the Europa League and others. The people of the Dragon Kingdom spoke very proudly. Ha 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 ha, it's just a basic operation, there's no need to be too surprised, Suban's giant, it's just 2 legs, just bigger. Anyway, I think you were already desperate to the extreme when you were before, and you shouldn't be desperate in the future, haha. If I were you, I should have been numb, haha. In fact, we Dragon Country people are similar, seeing that Suban is so powerful, he has long been numb, there is nothing to be surprised about. Look at how those of you who have been blessed with the power of national fortune can finally make waves and struggle to the death. At this time, the Dragon Kingdom people, looking at the Suban in the picture, their hearts were overjoyed. And at this time in the national embargo, while countless players were crying bitterly, an old Ingbi player, the black magician Merlin, began to sneak his own arrangement. He sent some fur fragments into a test tube and recited a spell on it. Then he started making a weird magic array. There were imperceptible fluctuations in the air, and a strange force suddenly spread out. After all this, Merlin was very proud. Then you're finished, accept the punishment of death. In the process of making plans before, he had already discussed it with people. In addition to being able to use physical means against Suban, they can also use Merlin's spells. This will be a mysterious force that Suban absolutely cannot resist. Merlin had previously told his teammates about his skills. First, after he sacrificed his fortune in John's Cow Kingdom to earn him the S-level black magic ability, he possessed an immortal body. Even if it is a whole body fracture, there is a way to make the flesh and bones recombine again, slowly recover, and he also has a skill, that is, curse the death of the blood. Can be destroyed with the specified object. As long as he can obtain the blood, hair, or skin and flesh of his opponent, then he can use this as a medium to bind to the life of his opponent. Before that, Merlin had unknowingly removed some of Suban's hair during the battle. Subsequently, Merlin further completed a magic array. As long as he is in this magical realm, the damage he suffers will be borne with the enemy. And he has an immortal body, so the dead will only be the enemy. For those who do not understand Merlin's intelligence, it can almost be said to be a sinister trick. No matter how powerful the enemy is, as long as he has flesh and blood, he will definitely be killed directly. This is no longer a physical skill, but a causal supernatural force. So at this moment, after completing the steps of the magic array, he immediately showed a fierce smile and began to attack himself. Swish! He first brutally cut off one of his own legs. Cursed death division unleashed by blood. After seeing this scene, countless people are a question mark. What is this Merlin going to do? What is this Hades operation? Episode 87 Multiple Wood Doppelgangers. Susanoo beat up the 5 great powers. At this time, Merlin, after breaking his leg, was still laughing. It was as if I was enjoying all this pain and felt that it was a very pleasant thing. Such a strange scene, so that the audience does not even know how to react, is good. Isn't this guy crazy? He had been undead before and estimated to be a monster, and he no longer looked like a human. He shouldn't have controlled Suban's mind, that's why he did such a strange thing. If Suban is a god, then he is an evil ghost. At this time, Suban was also inexplicable, not knowing what this Merlin was sending, but only a few seconds later, he instantly sensed something was wrong. After that, he watched as his leg suddenly broke and fell to the ground. This scene shocked the audience in an instant. The invincible Suban, under Merlin's plot, was actually seriously injured. This is a huge achievement like never before. But in the face of this mutation, Suban also reacted quickly, which should be Merlin's mysterious skill. Combined with what he had done before, he quickly analyzed most of the intelligence. I see, you must be able to use this method to make people suffer the same harm as you. It's funny, it can hurt me, but it's just too evil. Otherwise, I might be more interested in you. Seeing that Suban guessed Merlin's skills so quickly, the people of the Five Great Powers Alliance were all shocked. Suban continued to ask, "Are you ready to die with me? But it's not right, you seem to have been like you can't die before. I guess the damage you suffered will definitely be far less than the damage I suffered, right?" After seeing Suban's injuries and analysis, the people of Longguo were shocked and angry, and they were worried about Suban. "Oh, your John Cow country people are really too Hades. It's good to say that we always open and hang, and your behavior is the most open and even very unreasonable. It is really too insulting to the battle of this national fortune war. When others fight hard, you directly use this curse method. Do you think this is too much?" Oops. Suban should not really overturn the ship in the gutter this time, such a sinister means who can dodge it. Yeah, he's probably going to die straight from the curse. This is not a physical attack, nor is it an energy attack. Suban is absolutely unable to cope with it. At this time, they were all anxious for Suban and felt an unprecedented danger. In the national embargo, Merlin continued to laugh wildly at this point. "It seems that you are indeed quite clever. I have completely completed everything, you are finished, and the next you will die. I will let you know how powerful the evil god lord is." As he spoke, he cut off the other one he had seen again. Suban's hand broke off after a few seconds. This scene made Merlin even more proud. This can be said to be the biggest injury to Suban that countless players have ever done. His laughter was also getting more and more unbridled. It was as if Suban had already been able to see the miserable appearance of Suban falling in a pool of blood. "Ha ha 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 ha, well, don't continue to play with you, just end the battle." He plunged the scythe in his hand directly into his heart, and then let out an even more frantic laugh. "Go and die. Ha 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 ha." At this moment, he was occupied by the evil god, and he actually felt very happy. As if all this could make him feel a strange pleasure. It is extremely disgusting to let countless viewers see it. And Merlin's teammates, although also a burst of ecstasy. Have they finally defeated the Suban? That's really gratifying. I didn't expect that they had to fight for so long, and they had to rely on this strange means to defeat Suban. It can only be said that Suban is really too strong, and there is no way to defeat Suban by conventional force alone. The people of the Europa League are finally starting to cheer up at this time. I felt like I was finally seeing the light. The people of their alliance, who have paid so much for the exhaustion of national fortunes, now finally have the opportunity to defeat Suban. Next, they can definitely get richer rewards. Let's make up for the huge losses before. Ha ha ha. That's really cool and crooked. At the same time, the Dragon Kingdom people were also extremely depressed, and they couldn't bear to look at the next picture. If it was just a powerful attack, they all trusted Suban very much, and Dwayne Suban would definitely not be afraid at all. But this was not an ordinary attack, but a curse ability beyond physical means. Even if Suban was strong, he had to be eaten by Merlin. It's so upsetting to them. At a time when countless people are rejoicing and mourning for this. In the national embargo, Merlin and the other Five Nation Coalition people suddenly realized that something was getting wrong. Iron Man and the other companions began to inquire. "Merlin, when will your spell take effect? It seems to have been quite a long time. Why doesn't he seem to look like something was going on at all?" Merlin also finally realized that something was wrong. How can that be? It seems that it has indeed been too long. Even if he is strong, he can't not die for such a long time. This. As he spoke, he was suddenly dumbfounded. Because he suddenly found that Suban not only did not die, but also, his previous broken hands and feet began to heal slowly. No, it's not a slow healing, it's just a matter of coming out of thin air. Countless dusts seemed to make up the living matter, once again attached to his body, forming the shape of legs and hands. This is naturally thanks to Suban's dirt rebirth body. In addition, even if there is no rebirth in the dirt, Su's spot within Turcolumn cells has extremely strong recovery ability, and it will not be afraid of such an injury. This really stunned Merlin. How is it possible? Do you also have my immortal ability? Isn't this something that I believe in evil gods can only grasp? At this time, Merlin was not only deeply shocked, but also felt that his faith was about to collapse completely. There is absolutely no way to believe what is in front of you. At this time, the audience of the Europa League is like being struck by lightning. What's going on? Why can Suban still be resurrected? This time he should not be a body, but a body. The Dragon Nation people open and hang and open and hang. How many times have I said this? I've really had enough. It's so unbelievable, there's no way to explain it. Hit a yarn, or after playing, directly tell us that it is a double. Either after injuring the body, tell me that I can recover my body. What kind of means does this Suban need to kill him? Can't you Dragon Kingdom players afford to play? This tactic is really full of cheats. Attack and defense, life and resurrection coins, how do we play? Forget it, we're not going to play, let's get out of this national embargo, right? The Dragon Kingdom people were also relieved at this moment. Before, I really thought that Suban was going to be finished, but I didn't expect that Suban could still have such a means. What a bonus. Oh my god, it's really too strong. Suban gangster, what kind of skill is this using? Is this the powerful resilience of Suban? That's an exaggeration, it's directly giving birth to limbs, and it's at a speed that's visible to the naked eye. It's so scary, such a player, I can't think of any way to lose. Unless there is a nuclear weapon, there is no way to defeat Suban at all. I even suspect that even if the nuclear weapon blows up, Ban will have a way to revive it again. It's funny for an undead person to fight an undead god. You have wasted so much of your national fortune in vain, it is really stupid. I can't even imagine that the big guy Suban will encounter any danger, you are already exhausted. Unless you use a science fiction level weapon, there is absolutely no way to defeat Subanda. Ban Lyyds. In the national embargo. Merlin in the picture is angry and wants to continue the self-harm of the heartbreak. However, Suban did not give him any chance. I thought you had some ability, but that's enough. I'm tired of playing. Suban's reincarnation pupil power is great. Diantian Heavenly Introduction. A powerful gravitational force suddenly formed. Before Merlin could react, he watched as he was sucked in by Suban. It is as if magnets attract each other. In an instant, he was close to Suban. This mysterious energy once again broke through his cognition. Teammates are also dumbfounded. Wardfack. Merlin, what's wrong with that? What should we do? The people of the Five Powers Coalition still wanted to throw a rope to go over, but found that it was too late. They sighed and could only rush over to see if they could take the opportunity to attack Suban. At this time, Merlin said hardly, even in the process of flying. Suban. Even if you don't die and can recover quickly, so what? I understand that you still have to suffer serious injuries during this time. As long as you break a leg, you will definitely have mobility problems before you fully recover. In the kung fu of his speech, he was quickly sucked in front of Suban. Suban directly cut him into several pieces, and even cut off his head directly. Subsequently, Suban conjured up several black Chichenla black knees from his hands. Inserted directly into all parts of his body, making it impossible to move. Then he debunked Merlin's lie. I have long seen that the premise of your damage sharing is that you need to be in this magic array, so now, while you may not be able to be killed, as long as you don't bother me anymore, you can. By the time Suban finished all this cleanly, the other contestants were already late. He had to stop and look at Suban from a distance, with a look of shock and jealousy. The body also shook like a sieve. Finished. Even this so unreasonable Merlin was abolished by Suban. It seems that they really can't defeat such a powerful Suban. What else can they do? Although Merlin's body still seemed to be shaking and his eyes were still moving, he really couldn't help anymore. So next, they can only rely on their strength to confront Suban. This battle will be very tough. Now. Alessandro and others, in desperation, were still speaking harshly to Suban. But no matter how strong you are, I believe that any skill will come at a price. Maybe you'll only be able to resurrect that once or twice. I believe that with our collective strength, we can definitely make you pay the price, Suban said lightly. Oh, then why are you talking so much nonsense with me? Aren't you saying so much because you're afraid? That's why we have to use this ridiculous means to find self-confidence. Suban's words hit the nail on the head. After hearing Suban's words, the 5 major alliance forces were instantly dumbfounded. That's right, they couldn't find any way to do it, so they were forced to talk like this. This is the so-called external strength in the middle. It was precisely because there was nothing they could do about Suban that they could only adopt this kind of mouth cannon method. To give yourself a little confidence. Otherwise, it is estimated that before rushing to Suban, he would have completely lost his fighting spirit. Alessandro and Jones, among others, gritted their teeth and shouted in this desperate situation. That's it. No nonsense, let's go together. Against such a guy, there is no need to keep your hands. The strongest skills we can use, I'll use it. Even if it's many on one, even by all means, no one will say anything. The winner is the king, and the loser is the coward. Suban still looked at them with a sneering face. That's right, weak people like you, let's beat them in groups. Why bother with reasons? But then again, since you feel like you're in the hall, I'll help you lighten your psychological burden. I can just stop by and play. The Five-Power Coalition? After hearing Suban's words, they were still a little stunned, not knowing what Su meant by these words. Followed by. They saw Suban's hands knotted, and then suddenly separated countless strange branch-like items from his body. These branches are constantly extending and gradually getting larger. Soon began to take on human form and separated from Suban's body. The densely packed Suban quickly jumped up and surrounded the five major powers' combined forces. This is Suban's Mushu multi-wood splitting technique. Suban looked at the Five-Nation Alliance army with his eyes straight and his tongue open, and his tone was calm. Have you always thought it was cool to besiege others? Then let you try what it's like to be besieged. By the way, there is still a question, what kind of form should I take when I am a wooden doppelganger? Should we use a stronger form? At this moment, these players were all silent, unable to speak at all, and there was no way to understand what Suban meant. Could Suban be saying that these doppelgangers can still show a stronger state? Really fake? Then this doppelganger is also too strong. It's so strong that it's endless. While they were secretly lost, Suban continued to speak. Since you don't speak, my answer is, use. The next moment. Boom. From above these Suban-Mu doppelgangers, countless giants quickly began to rise from the ground. Blue chakra armor, these wooden doppelgangers are protected in it. Giants with terrifying momentum out of thin air. Of the Five-Nation Coalition, there were less than 10 people left who could have fought. At this time, they were surrounded by 3 dense giants. On average, everyone has to face 3 or 4 giants. And it's not an ordinary Susanoo, but a fourth form of Susanoo with legs. Whether it is attack or defense, or flexibility, it is not worse than any of their players. At this time, the Europa League players were terrified and their faces were like earth. They finally understood once and for all what godlike power was. The strength of Suban is completely endless. The Dragon Kingdom audience was also completely dumbfounded at this time. Strong. Banyi is too Nyama strong. The old man has no culture, and has always been lying in the grooves to break into the world. Sure enough. When we look at the battle of the big guy Suban, we should keep calm. No one knows what powerful skills he will use in the next moment. Obviously he was able to have such overwhelming power at the beginning, but he still had a playful attitude to face these players, and it was terrifying to think about. But the big guy Suban really has such strength, and he is qualified to be so arrogant. Is it really hard to imagine that this Suban is not an opponent between the pillars? So what was their original battle like? That pillar must also have the power to destroy the heavens and the earth. At this moment, the Dragon Kingdom people once again turned from worry to joy. This time, the people of the Europa League are absolutely at the end of the road. Episode 88, The Lighthouse Nation and the Nine Tails. Destroy the pillar first and then destroy the Su spot. Next. The crowd saw the people of the Europa League caught in a bitter battle. At this time, the Europa League players can't care about Suban's body. You can only find ways to deal with countless doppelgangers. At this time, when the people of the Lighthouse country saw all this, it was also difficult to accept in their hearts. Before they also thought that with the power of the 9 tails that destroyed the world and the earth, they would definitely be able to make Suban and the people between the pillars pay the price. But now it seems that their ideas may not be realized. Suban's strength at this time can really be said to be godlike power. Can they still wage a victorious battle against Suban? I really don't dare to say it. The top brass of the Lighthouse Nation immediately began to seriously discuss it. Oops. We had also sent messages to George and Bryce to find an opportunity to attack Suban, but at that time we really miscalculated. We didn't expect Suban to be so powerful. Even if George and Bryce plus 9 tails, it's not enough to have a certainty of victory. After all, we don't know where the upper limit of the 9 tails is. Then tell the players of our country not to challenge Suban? But this is also a palliative rather than a cure. Who knows if Suban will take the initiative to challenge it in the future. If people like Suban are not eliminated, sooner or later we will be defeated, but it is only the difference between early failure and late failure. They really don't want to concede defeat at this time. I don't want to let my country fail completely. In addition, the personnel of the strategic department of the Lighthouse State were also analyzed and vaguely guessed. With the passage of time, Suban will become more and more powerful. Although I don't know what this principle is, it should be unquestionable. If Suban were to be so powerful, their country would sooner or later perish. Can we only passively be a shrunken-headed turtle and wait for the Suban to destroy all the enemy countries? That's absolutely not okay. After arduous discussion, a high-ranking member of the Lighthouse Nation began to draw a conclusion. Didn't we ever think about dealing with the likes of Pillar, and Bayuekue? Then we might as well deal with them first. At present, it seems that the strength between the pillars should be far inferior to Suban, and he should be the best to deal with. As for the other two players, Hasama and Bayuekue, it should not be a concern. Looking at their previous battles, they really didn't show such earth-destroying power as Suban. After making this decision, they immediately sent a message to the players of their own country. While this is also risky, it is already the best way they can come up with it. It's better than facing Suban alone. But even if they had more people, they really didn't dare to deal with Suban alone. After all, Suban can already be said to be a godlike existence in the minds of people all over the world at this time. So the news soon reached the ears of the Lighthouse Nation players who were still on standby. The top brass of the Lighthouse Nation used the shortest information to inform the Lighthouse Nation players of the countermeasures they had discussed. At this time, the Lighthouse Country players did not know the huge wave set off by Suban at this time. Before that, the Lighthouse players were in the National Forbidden Land, and originally wanted to go down to find Suban under the leadership of Nine Tails. However, in the middle of the road, they were suddenly teleported into this national sports arena. Moreover, I also learned about the great changes in Suban and others at this time. Subsequently, the National Games Arena saw that they were so weak and gave them powerful rewards to narrow the gap with Suban's people. Of course, this is also at the expense of their country's lucky forces. Their Lighthouse Nation has paid at least 30% of its resources to further strengthen these players. One player, George, gained the Hulk's abilities. After becoming the Hulk, George can expand several times in size, and can have superhuman strength, speed and endurance. And his ability is related to his emotions, the more angry the stronger. Moreover, he also has a super regenerative ability, even if important organs are destroyed, they can regenerate. Another player, Bryce, obtained an S-class character Kawi Jintian, directly turning him into a mechanical giant of tens of meters. Its body can be freely deformed, and its body is full of various weapons. The right arm is a powerful cannon that shoots a concentrated fusion ray. The left arm is a giant alloy claw that acts as a melee grid. In addition, he also has a variety of weapons such as double-barrel laser cannons, blazing bullets, etc., which are infinitely powerful. After gaining these abilities, George and Bryce even came close to ignoring the nine-tailed demon fox for a time. While training their abilities, they also exerted their strength to the fullest, and felt the power of the Nine Tails up close. However, after discovering that their strength was so powerful, in front of the nine-tailed demon fox, they were still completely unable to resist. They gave up the idea of resisting the nine-tailed demon fox. Continued to obediently be the little brother of the nine-tailed demon fox. Of course, they themselves are still very arrogant. He even thought that without the help of the nine-tailed demon fox, he could easily defeat Suban and others. If it weren't for the fact that they had spent a long time adapting to the powerful power of Wei Jintian and the Hulk, it was estimated that they would have run to challenge Suban first. Later, the people of the Europa League took the lead in proposing the challenge. At this time, the Lighthouse players were still waiting, thinking about Suban's people. Maybe they would soon be killed by the people of the Europa League. These players in the National Games Arena can't see the live broadcast of the battle between Suban and others like the audience outside the stadium. I don't know Suban's performance as a god at this time. So at this time, after suddenly receiving a bullet screen tip from their own country, George and Bryce were still a little puzzled. The Europa League is going to be wiped out. Suban is like a god. The top brass of their country suggested killing the people between the pillars first. Otherwise, when Suban and the pillars get together, the Dragon Kingdom will be more powerful, and there will be absolutely no flaws. This is all earth-shattering news. At this time, the only two Lighthouse players left were sluggish and immediately began to communicate seriously. Really fake. This Suban is so powerful, one person can destroy the people of the Europa Alliance. I've seen their skills before, and all kinds of skills are very powerful, and it is estimated that they have the strength of countless A-level fierce beasts. Didn't you expect that there was no way to deal with Suban? So the top level of our country can only suggest that we challenge the people between the pillars in order to pick up the leaks. Do you look down on us so much? I am such a mighty robot, but such a powerful mech. Even destroying a nuclear aircraft carrier is a breeze. How can you not beat Suban? They were not convinced, but they were also a little nervous. At this time, they all turned their inquiring eyes to Ninetales. Lord Ninetales. What do you think should be viewed? What a terrible existence to be able to destroy this Europa alliance, Suban. Ninetales was grumbling in boredom at this time. This forbidden place is really boring. I was sealed in the forbidden place before, and now I am locked up in this place, and I can't go out and do activities. You can do whatever you like, and it's okay to find anyone to fight. Anyway, just like what you are talking about now, the strength that has been strengthened is not worth mentioning in front of me. It is estimated that others are not very strong. You rookies pecking at each other, it doesn't make any sense to me at all. George and Bryce both laughed. They could only bow to Ninetales and say, yes. You are right, you are a godlike being to us humans, and of course you cannot be afraid of him. So let's think about how we should arrange the strategy next. If we are in danger, I hope you can help. Of course, that's what the Ninetales say, but they won't be completely bold enough to believe the Ninetales. After all, this is a suggestion from the top level of their country, and they still have to listen to it. For the sake of safety, it is indeed a good choice to challenge weaker opponents first. As long as you destroy the people such as Pillar Ma, then they can get the qualification to fight with Suban after receiving a generous reward. Destroy the Pillar, the Gate and the White Moon Kuei, and then destroy the Su Spot. At that time, even if Suban destroys the people of the Europa Alliance, then they will have the power to fight a war. The Lighthouse Nation contestants were eager to try it out and immediately began to challenge. George and Bryce began to speak to the National Games Arena. We, the Lighthouse Nation team, are going to challenge the three-man team of Pillar, Gate and White Moon. As soon as the words fell, the national embargo immediately began to issue prompts. Now start testing. Match successful. National Games Arena tips. Because they perceive that the strength of their three-person squad is far beyond the ability of these three of you, the national transport embargo only matches one person between the pillars as your opponent. Now start scheduling the map. Please be patient and wait. After hearing this news, the Lighthouse Nation players were shocked again. What the hell? Does the National Forbidden Land mean that the two of them plus the nine-tailed demon fox have no way to deal with the Dragon Kingdom players? Aren't Dragon Country players the strongest in Suban? Is this pillar comparable to that, so it only takes one person between the pillars to deal with so many of us? Oh my god, what kind of horrible existence is this pillar? The Lighthouse players couldn't help but be worried at this time. Ninetales also understood the reason for the arrangement of the National Games Arena. Originally, he was still very bored, but at this time, the fox's eyes were wide open in anger, and a fierce killing chi burst out from his eyes. Rumble. In the National Fortune Arena, the momentum of the Ninetales suddenly soared, and the fierce chi filled everywhere, whispering like a flood, is there really a way for this hateful Dragon Kingdom person to pose such a huge threat to me? It's ridiculous. Even if I can't exert my peak strength at this time, it is definitely not something they can deal with casually. Then I'll let him see what is called the power of a truly powerful tailed beast. 9 tails of the 9 tails, red light waves flowing faintly, the eyes are not angry and self-assured. He also decided to prove himself well. Let the National Fortune Arena see how terrifying the most powerful tailed beast is. At the same time, the audience outside the arena is also shocked. The Lighthouse audience dropped their jaws in shock. What the hell? Is this pillar so powerful, even the 3 top fighting forces of our country can't pose a threat to him? Why? Dragon Kingdom Suban, such a powerful godlike opponent, is it not enough? Seeing the Europa League so depressed before, the people of the Lighthouse Nation have been spared death, which is very uncomfortable. Now see even this between the columns, they all have such a strong strength, and they have received such a high recognition from the National Games Arena, and they are even more red-eyed. The Dragon Kingdom audience was also very surprised at this time. Immediately after a moment of consternation, there were countless laughs again. Ha 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 ha. It seems that the people in the national embargo are indeed quite taking care of you. I know you can't beat so many of us, so I also intimately matched a person for you. This is completely understandable. Our pillar big guys are people who love and kill Suban, so they must be people of the same level. Even if they are worse than Suban, they are definitely not far behind. At the time of the rise of the storm between the challenge pillars of the Lighthouse Nation. The other side. The battle between Suban and the 5 major alliance forces has also begun to enter a white-hot stage. The frozen fruit ability has been exhausted. In the face of so many Susanoo, he constantly condensed the strength of his whole body. At the same time, it has also taken the initiative to issue more and more orders against the national embargo. Dear National Games Arena. I Jones am willing to sacrifice 5% of the power of my country's fortune to crush the evil people in front of me. Please give me strength. Airplanes. With the sound of an ice cube bursting, a far superior iceberg condensed and shot towards one of them, Susanoo. Ice cube pheasant mouth. After the strengthening of the power of the national fortune, his attack has become a powerful threat. Rumble. A wooden doppelganger, Susanoo, finally could not hold on to it and directly exploded. This is the destructive power. He consumes 5% of the power of the national fortune, which is too destructive. But this was extremely costly to himself, as well as to John Cow country. Still, he gritted his teeth and continued to fight. We are the name of the empire that never sets, and we must not be insulted by me. I must destroy you. Jones stepped on his feet again, jumped up, and a cold breath suddenly extended, instantly freezing another Susanoo. The other Europa League players, like Jones, began to fight fiercely. They consider themselves to be the last hope of the Europa League and are doing their best to deal with Suban. That's it. With the blessing of countless national fortunes, coupled with the fact that they exhausted their life potential, they painstakingly reduced the number of Suban's Susanoo. Finally, under the influence of countless cannonballs, cold ice chi, and other energy attacks, the last wooden doppelganger Susanoo was also destroyed by them. Afterwards, they were all exhausted and rested breathlessly. Then he looked up at Suban's body high above, and shouted in a hoarse voice, "Suban, you can't support it either, can you? Now, after you have done your best to summon so many giants, what kind of means can you take?" Although they tried their best to show their self-confidence at this time, after seeing Suban's endless means, they were already terrified. The words spoken are also without momentum. Anyone can see their inwardness. They have repeatedly exhausted the potential of their lives and the power of national fortunes. I can't hold on any longer. They bet that Suban would be the end of the crossbow after using so many powerful attacks. Looking at their exhausted appearance, Suban only felt funny. When did you have the illusion that I needed to fight you with all my might? Susanoo, like this, I can make it bigger at any time. But seeing that you have broken them all up so hard, let's give you a hard time and see this last trick. At this time, Suban can continuously and easily use Susanoo. Not to mention the fourth form, even if it is a complete body, it is easy. However, he was not a person who casually repeated the ninjutsu. That would be too boring. Suban immediately began to summon the power of his reincarnation eye to launch a final blow at them. Suban summoned Susanoo again. But this time, this Susanoo appeared with 2 heads and 4 arms. And it can even be sealed together with Suban's body, which looks very strange. Not. A powerful wave of energy swept across the entire battlefield in an instant. Seeing this, the crowd did not realize for a moment and a half what was happening. What's going on? What happened? It wasn't until after a while that they suddenly found themselves shrouded in a huge shadow. Heavenly calamity. An ominous premonition weighed heavily on their hearts. The end is coming. Episode 89, Heavenly Obstacle Shock Star. Meteorites are coming. Destroy everything. After raising their heads to look up at the sky, the 5-Power Alliance was once again dead. Really fake? Is this a joke? Is this the gap between us and Suban? It seems that Suban is really a god. He was never cornered by us, all along. We're all delusional. As they talked, more and more huge shadows began to cover them completely. The sun above the sky is completely obscured. Their mood at this time was also completely dark. Fear seemed to turn into substance, crushing the coalition of the 5 powers to the ground. Some people have collapsed and sat on the ground, their faces are so pale that they can't even breathe. In the perspective of the live broadcast room, the audience can't see what exactly appears in the picture, and they are still very confused about the discussion. What's going on? What's above their heads? Could it be that a more powerful form has emerged? Could it be the giant of Suban? It wasn't until after a while that the picture suddenly began to zoom out. The huge vines and leaves created by Suban began to gradually fade away, becoming smaller and smaller. Countless glacial mountains have also turned into the size of ants. Subsequently, a huge meteorite, suddenly breaking through the dark clouds, came from the stars, and appeared in the perspective of everyone. Almost put the map they have been fighting, completely shrouded. The next moment, the whole world is boiling. At this time, the audience was shocked to know that this was the attack launched by Suban. This can indeed be said to be a godlike power. With such a terrifying power, how could ordinary humans possibly fight him? The scale of this meteorite, not to mention the sudden fall from hundreds of thousands of kilometers out of the sky, even if it is only 100 meters away, it can completely destroy the entire map. Even the Dragon Kingdom audience was in shock at this time. This is really too strong. It is not a powerful ability that normal people can describe at all. Sure enough, it was Su Shin. It can only be described as God, such a powerful man. Will we have a chance to get closer to him? I don't even ask for 10% of Suban's ability, it's good to have 0.1%. Suban, this person, is not a species with me? Something's wrong. Suban is using meteorites in this place, then he himself. Aren't you going to be hit by a meteorite too? You're stupid, didn't Suban already show it before? He is also an immortal body, and can be resurrected again at any time. I don't know how Pillar can fight with such people, are they really immortal? And at this moment, the ordinary people of the Europa League are also completely dumbfounded. What else can they say? Saying 243 is just a clown. Someone like Suban, there is no one to deal with him at all. Even if one person is, Suban alone is enough to destroy the players of so many countries. It can even be said that so many of their countries have been destroyed. They have injected unlimited national fortunes to strengthen their players. But at this time, to deal with Suban, the open player, it is still such a cup of water. It's an endless despair. On the screen, all the people of the Europa League, although full of despair, but all of them gathered their strength and began to work together to deal with this terrible meteorite. Alessandro, who was holding Thor's hammer, flew up first, fighting the meteorite with all his might. Rumble. His Thor's hammer and meteorite collided violently. But to his astonishment, his power simply could not do much damage to the meteorite. There is not even a way to stop it. When others saw the situation, they also rushed to help. The frozen fruit ability immediately jumped up and shouted, "Ice Age." It's almost an instant of kung fu, only to see above the sky. Centered on Jones's palm, countless ice cubes suddenly appeared in the originally empty air. Then it spread out in an instant. The cold ice seemed to form a giant hand, holding the meteorite directly up. Form a tall icicle to block the meteorite's forward movement. But the next moment, stupidly, his cold ice was so vulnerable to the heat generated by the friction of the meteorite that even the ice was instantly melted. Jones could only use his skills again and again, trying to block his advance. The ice cubes freeze repeatedly, and then dissolve instantaneously. Jones, who had always been cold, was also full of red face at this time, and his whole body was sweating. And Lewis, who has the ability to rust fruit, also summoned a Salon scroll to strike in the opposite direction of the meteorite. Although Iron Man wanted to destroy the meteorite, he was completely short of firepower, and could only continuously attack the surface of the meteorite with small shells. This reduces the weight of the meteorite. Rumble. 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 But under his attack, this big meteorite was just countless small pieces, which were exploded. It still can't have much impact on the size of the meteorite. The paladin began to cast spells diligently to give his companions more powerful energy support. Anyway, next. Under their attack, the meteorite was indeed slowly reduced in speed after several kilometers of movement, and the meteorite finally came to a slow stop. Underneath it, there are already pillars of sand and icicles of ice. At this time, all the players were trying their best to barely block it. But they didn't dare to relax in the slightest. After all, Suban was still watching at this time. As long as Suban moved his hand slightly, they would absolutely collapse in an instant. Iron Man also constantly flew around the meteorite, continuing to work hard to use his own cannonballs to slowly destroy the meteorite. Just make it as much weight as possible. You can reduce the pressure on your peers. When their flesh trembled, a voice with a calm tone made them fall into the abyss in an instant. Very good, it seems that you are still a little level, but what can you do next? The second one. As soon as the words fall, the audience can clearly see it in the picture. After the cloud broke, a meteorite appeared again. And it's bigger than it came before. Their mouths were wide open again, and they couldn't imagine the scene in front of them. And the second one. Suban is really a godlike power. How can these players possibly be defeated? Despair. Utter despair. The players who had already reached the limit could not support the rapid fall at this time. Then, they could only watch in frustration as the meteorite continued to fall and pressed heavily against the ground. At this time, even if they wanted to escape, they were powerless. Everywhere you look, it's the shroud of this meteorite. Where is the chance to escape? In the face of this divine power that crushes the ants, the so-called Five-Nation Alliance is not much different from the ants at all. Immediately after, everything in front of you. It includes the product of huge trees and flowers on the ground, as well as the mountains and rivers here. All will be crushed into pieces by this meteorite. Boom. 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 The picture in the live broadcast room was suddenly dark as never before. I don't know whether it's because of Suban's earth-shattering power, or because the camera in the live broadcast room has been completely blocked. But the result is beyond doubt. These people will be completely crushed to pieces, and there is absolutely no way to continue to survive. Dead. In the live broadcast rooms of countless countries, there is a complete and utter silence. And the faces of countless people are also earth-colored. They can already imagine what will happen to them next. But at this time, the screen appears again in the live room. A special space suddenly appeared in the eyes of the entire audience. The players who had just died were all gathered in this place. Whether it is the strong hand that died at the beginning or the strong hand who died last, all beings are equal at this time and are located here together. And the black magician Merlin, who claims to be immortal, is no different. Under this attack that can crush all objects, it will eventually turn into powder completely. There is simply no way to continue healing. This attack had completely turned his entire body into pieces. It is no longer the point of healing. The voice of the national embargo continued to sound at this time. You will have another chance to be resurrected and continue to participate in this national sports arena. Do you want to use it? The use of each person will reduce the luck of the country by 10%. After hearing this terrible price, countless people fell silent. Admittedly, if the resurrection can be won, then this 10% is really not a terrible price. They had already paid a much greater price than this, but the question was, did they really need to continue to be resurrected? If it is those cannon fodder level players, then don't waste the power of these national fortunes, obediently accept the destruction. And some very strong players, at this time, is still a bit old heart. Do you think we can give up so easily? Although it is true that we were completely crushed by the Su spot, is there a rare opportunity for us not to try it? Maybe Suban was also seriously injured. Although he was hit by this meteorite and can be resurrected at this time, it can't be at no cost, right? At least it will be weakened by at least half of its strength, then we may still be able to fight with him. Of course, there have been such heavy casualties. Many people have long lost their belief and fighting spirit in battle, and began to question, but no matter how you say it, this is just your speculation. Such a terrible Suban is really not something we can fight against. In the face of doubt, Alessandro was held by Thor's hammer, and endless anger and murderous anger erupted from his eyes. That's right, it's really just my speculation, but let's try it at least. Since we have already paid so much price, can we fail at this time? Alessandro's words make people fall into contemplation. Truly. Such a large sunk cost, they will not give up. Even if it's only a 5% win rate, they still want to try it a little. Maybe you can succeed? Only, if it is a failure, their country has lost so many resources anyway, and it has long been miserable enough. No matter how miserable it is, it's not a big deal, right? After some hard decisions, several of the strongest of them have decided to resurrect. As for those who were weak and small, there was naturally no need to waste so much of the power of national fortune and give the opportunity to fight to these top strong people. Frozen fruit ability, wrestling fruit ability, player with Iron Man suit and other players. They were all regrouped and decided to compete with Suban again. But I don't know that in the live broadcast room in my own country, countless viewers are secretly crying bitterly. Oh my god, don't you want to fight anymore? If we continue to fight, our country will be gone, and we really can't afford such a big resource consumption anymore. The point is that you really can't beat such a terrible opponent. Even if Suban can really weaken 90% of his combat effectiveness, you may not be able to win if you want to. But at this time, they really can't stop the thoughts of these players anymore. They have issued instructions to the National Games Arena and are ready to be resurrected into the National Games Arena. At this time in the Dragon Country, the audience saw these resurgent foreigners, and they were desperately complaining. You see, it is clear that only your players have been favored, which means our Suban. The National Games Arena has given you a chance to be resurrected, are you still saying it's unfair? It seems that we Suban are indeed resurrected by our own ability and already have an immortal body. He is indeed a godlike figure, and I reckon he can even come into contact with the divine power of the National Transport Embargo, and perhaps the organizers of the National Transport Embargo are afraid of him. Ha ha ha, that's right, a being like Suban is definitely not something you can touch, so you just wait to accept the fate of destruction again. Then again, now I'm also very concerned about how Suban is. After this meteorite falls, in what form will Suban be reborn again? I don't know if his body will be affected. Suban can use it so safely, and it is clear that it is just play. He has the opportunity to easily kill these players, just giants, can be summoned at will, but he just doesn't have to, hey, just play. This is the confidence of the strong. As he spoke, the mighty of the 5 great alliances took a break and prepared for resurrection. Another big news is coming. The pillars are also ready to start fighting with the enemy. Between the pillars of the Dragon Kingdom, battle against the Lighthouse Country players, plus the powerful tailed beast of the National Forbidden Land, the 9-tailed demon fox. Before being teleported past by the national transport embargo, the pillar was also very proud at this time. Haha, Akima, by Uekue, next I will fight on your behalf, and teach them a harsh lesson to those who do not know the height of the sky. You know, if we are any one person, we can easily deal with them. He said calmly, but big brother, you have to be careful too. I don't know if these players will have any sinister moves, but you must not be careless. Pillar between the pillars laughed, ha ha ha, rest assured, when I fight, I will never be careless. Then again, the spots they have been fighting for so long, it seems that no results have come out yet. I don't know how they are. But I'm not worried about spots. I even suspect he's listless at this point, too lazy to beat these rookies. It may be just a matter of randomly sending out its own doppelganger to crush the opponent, so it has not ended for so long. At this time, the pillars and others were waiting silently in the National Fortune Arena, and indeed did not know Suban's state at this time. Let the Dragon Country people who see this scene all smile with their ants. The pillar is indeed the person who knows Suban the most, although it is not completely right, but it also guesses a lot. The pillars that know Suban so well should also be a godlike figure with good strength, right? And so, in the midst of all the attention, the pillars quickly disappeared into the waiting room of the National Games Arena and began to make their way to a designated map. After leaving the pillar, Uzumaki also began to speak to Uekue. Although we can't get involved in the battle, let's warm up and get ready. After all, I don't know if there are more people who don't have long eyes to take the initiative to challenge us. At this time, he was also looking forward to a lively battle. Although his light had been covered up a lot in front of the pillar and Suban, his strength could not be ignored. Soon, the sound of the National Games Arena appeared. The second challenge of the National Games Arena has officially begun. A team of Kevin, George, and Bryce of the Lighthouse Nation begins to formally challenge the Dragon Nation players between the pillars. Episode 90, Between the Pillars vs. Lighthouse Nation. Scared to death, 9 tails. It's a hot man. The national embargo began to sound. Please be prepared for both players. After 10 minutes, both players will teleport to the designated map and start a life and death contest. It didn't take long for both sides to disappear into the waiting room. At this time, in the live broadcast room, the most rampant and proud is the audience of the Lighthouse Country. They all have faith in the people of the Lighthouse Nation. Even after seeing Suban's torture scene before, they all selectively lost their memory and provoked the Dragon Kingdom at this time. George. Bryce. We must let them see how good we are. Our Lighthouse Nation is the light of mankind that will never be extinguished. We must not let the evil Dragon Kingdom players defeat us. We must use the scientific and technological power of our Lighthouse Country to defeat the pretend gods and ghosts of the Eastern Dragon Kingdom. What's more, there are 9-tailed demon foxes that are even more powerful than you, and it is absolutely impossible to fail. The national transport embargo must not be able to see the strength of our Lighthouse Country, overestimating the strength of the Dragon Country players, so it only matched one person. Then we have to punch them in the face. At this time, the people of the Lighthouse are looking forward to a battle that is full of joy and shame. After coming to the National Games Arena, because of seeing George and Bryce, how terrifying it was when they unleashed the power of the Hulk and the mighty sky. Moreover, their strength was far inferior to that of the mysterious creature 9 tails in the national transport embargo. So they think that when facing the column, there is still a possibility of winning. As long as you don't play so unreasonable open-hanging players, then they will still be full of faith. Soon, in the anticipation of the Dragon Nation and the Lighthouse people, the contestants of the Dragon Nation and the Lighthouse Nation begin to appear in a forested map. After seeing this terrain between the columns, he was very satisfied with it. Not bad. This is the home field where you should fight. As a result, the eyes between the pillars began to burn, looking at the Lighthouse players in front of him. Only to see the 9 tails that controlled the Lighthouse Country player, Kevin, suddenly opened his eyes. Although it is a human, it has a pair of 9-tailed fox eyes, and the fierce light is great. Looking down on the proud eyes of all sentient beings, it is vividly displayed. A terrifying pressure filled the 4 directions between the whiskers, enveloping the whole field. 9 tails also looked forward with a solemn face, and said in a cold tone, this is what the Forbidden Land calls the Dragon Kingdom player? It seems. As he spoke, the expression on his face instantly froze. This person. It's between the columns. The 9 tails, who were still high and invincible, had already changed their faces at this time, and the monstrous death breath that had originally emanated from their faces suddenly disappeared. The scenes of the past quickly flashed through its heart. The humiliation he experienced when he first fought with Ban and the Pillar. Unforgettable. With a huge chakra, he could not exert his full strength in front of the spot and the pillar. It can be said that it is controlled to death by the spots and columns. It feels very depressing to think about. Unconsciously, it had taken a few steps back, and its eyes were full of jealousy and panic. And after the people of the lighthouse country saw it, they also had a question mark. What's going on? I seem to see the nine-tailed demon fox take a few steps back, isn't that an illusion? And his expression seemed to have a hint of trepidation? This is definitely my mistake, right? Before I did, hadn't I only been able to see the mighty expression of the nine-tailed demon fox? Illusion. It must be an illusion. If you haven't beaten yet, how can you be afraid? Yes. Surely the nine-tailed demon fox was too excited? George and Bryce of our country are still very excited. Anyway, next, you can see the scene of the abuse between the pillars of the Dragon Kingdom. There is no doubt about this, the people of the lighthouse country have felt good about themselves. Completely unwilling to believe the terrifying nine-tailed demon fox, there would be a feeling of fear. In the picture of the national embargo. At this time, the pillar also began to feel the familiar breath in the air, and muttered to himself. Huh. How this chakra energy seems to be a little familiar. However, because the nine-tailed demon fox was possessed by the Lighthouse Nation players, he couldn't see anything for a moment and a half. Forget it, it doesn't matter, you guys from the Lighthouse Nation are going to challenge me anyway, right? Then I'll end the fight as soon as possible. I'm in a hurry, so hurry up and show your strongest form. The pillar looked at the lighthouse player with a smile. It's like looking at the younger generation. It's not like coming to a life and death battle. George and Bryce. Although they had also known that they had to use all their strength unreservedly in the face of the pillar, they were still a little upset in their hearts when they were called and drunk like this. It was as if he had become the object of sparring with the pillars. Well, they are also people who have been strengthened by the national embargo. Don't underestimate them. You have to let the pillars know their power. It is best not to need the shot of the nine-tailed demon fox to take the lead in defeating the pillar. George and Bryce had a bloody glare in their eyes. They quickly began to enter their strongest state, transforming into a Hulk and a shape-shifting robot. Powerful majesty and breath quickly spread out, causing the entire battlefield to begin to collide with energies. They thoroughly displayed their murderous spirit and strength to the fullest, without reservation. After seeing such interesting combat opponents, between the pillars is also to see the hunter's heart. It seems that the next battle will have a little meaning, right? Only to see that the Hulk had become several times the size of his original body, and at this time he seemed to have lost consciousness and made a hoarse cry in his mouth. Looking at the eyes between the pillars, I just want to tear it to pieces completely. Subsequently, the Hulk's muscles quickly began to erupt with great power. A huge, muscular body suddenly rushed forward. Pedal. The ground he stepped on left a large pit several meters deep. Cracked lines stretch in all directions. And it was just a casual kick on his part. It's almost like a humanoid nuclear weapon, full of killing madness. With this terrifying force, he quickly rushed to the place where the pillars were. Although he only looked a little older than ordinary people, he had not yet reached the exaggerated point of tens of meters of giants. But anyone can see it. The power contained in him was terrifying and terrifying. It can be said to be a condensed version of the giant. The Dragon Country audience in the live broadcast room couldn't help but look sluggish. Sleeper. Is this Lighthouse Nation's Hulk so terrifying? I thought I was just a little stronger than ordinary humans. This destructive power is comparable to Suban and others. Originally, I was thinking it was so ugly. I didn't expect the strength to be quite strong. This kind of strength is not much weaker than the giants that Suban summoned before. This ground is as vulnerable as tofu under his walking. Although it is a little smaller than many fierce beasts in terms of size, it may be comparable to S-level fierce beasts, or even stronger. They all began to sweat between the pillars. Such an enemy, is there really a way to deal with it easily between the pillars? Can the wood between the pillars easily cope with such a terrible attack? Is the judgment of the National Games Arena really correct? Does the strength of the three of them match the strength between the columns? Or is it that the National Games Arena deliberately wants to embarrass our Dragon Country players, so it only allows one person between the pillars to fight? They couldn't help but feel worried. No matter what, this Hulk and Wei Zhentian were blessed with the power of national fortune, which was equivalent to letting the pillars face the strength of the entire Lighthouse Country with their own strength. What's more, there is a terrifying tail beast with unknown strength in the back. although they had never known what the true strength of the tailed beast was. Anyway, this nine-tailed demon fox can control and intimidate the Lighthouse Country players so easily, it seems to be extremely terrifying, right? In the picture of the national embargo. Seeing such a terrifying power of the Hulk, the pillars had to be treated with caution. He folded his hands and first began to use defensive ninjutsu for temptation. Mushu Bang Pai technique. Rumble. An earthquake-like movement quickly began beneath the ground. A huge shield with a grimace immediately appeared in front of the pillars, protecting them tightly. And at this time, the Hulk also slammed his fist into this wooden shield with a thunderous force. Boom. The sound of gold and iron is endless. The Hulk's body was as hard as steel, constantly hammering the wooden shield. In the process of collision between the two sides, countless shockwaves swept across the ground. Plow the ground out of a series of vicious and terrifying cracks. Such a terrifying force makes the audience look terrified. Such a scene is not worse than the battle between Suban and others next door. And what surprised everyone even more? The Hulk destroyed the world, as if it could destroy a mountain range with a heavy blow, and there was no way to cause much damage to this wooden shield. Seeing such a terrifying defense between the pillars, the Hulk was furious and began to hammer the shield even more furiously. Rumble. 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 The ground between the pillars had already shattered layer after layer. Even under the Hulk's hammer, it continued to sink, sinking for more than 10 meters. But the pillars are like a huge ship in a storm, no matter how big the wind and waves are, they can't shake it in the slightest. Let the Dragon Country audience who saw this scene be excited. Scared me to death. I was afraid that there would be a problem between the pillars when I saw such a terrible giant, but fortunately he still persevered. Sure enough, this is the powerful force between the pillars, even such a terrifying giant can't break it. Come on between the pillars, quickly hammer them, and let them know the power of our Dragon Kingdom. This wood secret art is really amazing, it can be said to be omnipotent. And there are so many trees in this place, it must be a very good place for the wood ecology, and for the skills between the pillars, it can definitely play the home field advantage. In the picture, the other lighthouse players frowned and quickly began to move. The massive mech commanded by Bryce shouted, "George! You get out of the way, let me deal with him." The threat is changing. Transform into an attack form, and constantly stretch out a dense cannon turret from your hand. And because of its large size, it has more artillery fire than the Germanic Iron Man before it. It was exactly like an army that began to bombard the pillars. Dada! Boom boom! The forest quickly began to be enveloped by artillery fire. The smoke from the shells continues to soar into the sky, covering the sky. The environment here is no longer sunny, but is completely shrouded by gloomy dark clouds. Originally under the attack of the Hulk, the ground around the columns had basically collapsed for more than 10 meters. Under the attack of artillery fire, the environment near the columns was destroyed. Trees within a radius of several hundred meters quickly began to burn and emitted a strong burning smell. The rubble, also burned by the flames, quickly began to melt, and even turned into a pile of gravel. Here and now, it's like a fiery hell. Definitely a forbidden place for humanity. But after a few moments of attack, Bryce, who controlled the mighty sky, found that he still couldn't do much damage to the shield between the pillars. This made Bryce even more indignant. No matter how powerful you are, you won't be able to do any harm at all. Well, I'm also a robot giant, and I can't even break through you as a human. Are you still an alien? He directly began to switch the weapon to flame form. Blah blah. Tongue of fire spews like crazy. Spray the flames that cover the sky above the shields between the columns. Bryce also started laughing wildly. Ha 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 ha, I just don't believe it. There's no way to burn you. A huge wave of fire quickly swept in, leaving the pillars completely in the sea of fire, violently burning the wood escape technique between the pillars. The hot flames continued to spread around, causing countless viewers to have a feeling of extreme palpitations. Even if they are not immersed, they feel that their mouths are dry, and even the sense of physical substitution is too strong. Definitely comparable to Suban next door. None of them are powerful flame attacks that ordinary people can withstand. It is conceivable that between the pillars at this time, the damage suffered is terrible. The previous Suban battlefield was also due to the resistance of so many people, as well as the existence of the frozen fruit ability, so it was able to block such a flame attack. And how painful is it to rely on only one person between the pillars? But having said that, after a while of burning, the audience was once again shocked to find out the mighty flame attack was still like a mud cow entering the sea. It even gives people the illusion that such a huge flame seems to turn into fireworks. In addition to looking good, there wasn't much harm at all. Even the surrounding ground had begun to melt into lava, but the shield between the columns stood majestically in it, still unresponsive. The flames continued to spread out, and the whole area became a sea of fire, even able to sweep across the heavens and the earth, so that the sky was burned red. It's like a volcanic eruption. But no matter how long the audience waited, they could not see the signs of unbearable appearance between the columns. This made the lighthouse people who were originally full of expectations scold. I don't believe such a scene at all. I think the Dragon Kingdom players are hanging up again. Fire can't burn much wood. Isn't this open hanging or what? Moreover, the lighthouse people did not notice that their other combat force in the lighthouse country, the nine-tailed demon fox that controlled Kevin, had been hovering on the edge of the battlefield at this time. There are even signs of running away. Now, Ninetails was truly stunned. That's right. Can't go wrong. This is the pillar that sealed itself in the first place. Holding himself down with a big hand, he said that he was very powerful, and sealed his own hot man. The familiar chakra that he had noticed before turned out to be him. Knowing how far you should have run, why would you control the Lighthouse Nation's runners and then meet the pillars again? Then again, another man, directly with his eyes to control his own spots, in what place? Shouldn't it be around here too? That's really the end of the calf. Ninetails' mood at this time had been completely occupied by Emperor Jing's uneasiness. Earth,